Hey, this is Andrew Brown. In this video, we're going to take a look at single sign-on, or specifically the Identity Center. I believe the service has been renamed since the last time I've used it. And we might need to be in our root account for this, but let's go take a look here. I'm just logged into the regular Andrew Brown account here. Let's type in SSO and see what we get. So notice that it's showing up Identity Center as SSO has been renamed to Identity Center, which, sure, whatever, AWS. And notice that it has yet to be enabled. And so I'm surprised I don't have to go to my root account, but that's totally fine. We'll go ahead and hit enable. Identity Center is already set up within your organization instance. So it looks like it's been turned on at some point. But let's just give this a read and see what we understand here. So it looks like we can set it up at the organization instance or the account instance. To be honest, I really only want to do this for this particular account. But let me just read this and make a decision here, okay? And so really, I just want to do this for this single account here. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. And basically the limitations is that I just can't apply for other accounts, which is totally fine. But it's up to you as to what you want to do here. There was a problem with your request. Does not allow its members to create instances. SSO. So the organization member account does not allow. Is that the account that I'm in right now? No. So what we'll do is we'll just go to our root account for the entire organization. And I guess we'll just work with the organizational one and we'll configure that. So I'll be back in just a moment here and log into that, okay? So go log into your root account for everything. All right, so I'm logged into my absolute root account. I'm gonna go ahead and type in SSO in the top here, and we're gonna make our way over to Identity Center. And you can see that I've already enabled it. Really all you had to do was checkbox that enable to enable it. I don't think this one is actually configured. If it is, there's not much going on here. And the UI has changed since last time I've been here, which is totally fine. But, you know, I'm just carefully looking at this. Just give me a second to get familiar with what has changed since last time I've been in here. All right. And so on the right-hand side, you'll notice that it says Identity Center directory, meaning that we are currently using AWS as the directory. And, you know, I think the most useful part about using IAM is that you can change it to an external one. So that you can use something like Azure to log into your AWS accounts, which I think is very convenient. But the idea is that in here, you'd end up creating users. And these users are kind of like your IAM users, but they have the ability to log into multiple accounts. And basically, they're assuming roles into another account. But let's go ahead and just set that up, because the idea right now is that we're in a root account. But what if we create one user to log into more than one account? And that's my goal here. So I'm going to go ahead and add a user and call this one Andrew Brown. And I'm going to put the email andrew@exampro.co, andrew@exampro.co, Andrew Brown. And the only thing I skipped here, which you didn't see, because I simply can't show it to you because I don't know if there's a way to disable Identity Center once it's turned on, but you click that button and it might have you walk through stuff. Again, I don't remember what. But anyway, the point is that it's not too hard to get through it, and we'll set up a new user. And so we have a lot of options here, a lot of stuff that I don't care about, but this is a sufficient amount that I need here. Send an email to this user with setup instructions, generate a one-time password that you can share with the user. I'm going to prefer that one here today. I'm going to go ahead and hit next. We don't have any groups, so we'll go ahead and do that. These are just like IAM groups, so we'll just say admin. And I'm going to, I would add the user, but the user hasn't been created yet, so we'll go ahead and do that. The other thing with this admin is it doesn't have any permissions. And so here is where we would actually be able to add accounts and things like that. But for now, I'm going to go back over to the user screen, and we're going to refresh this, and we're going to go ahead and add that group, and we'll go ahead and add that user. And so this will generate out a password and a username and etc. I'm just going to open up my Scratchpad. Just give me 1 second here. All right, just found my Scratchpad here. I'm just going to bring this on down. And so I just want to paste a couple things into here. So what I'll do is just shrink this, and I'll copy the instructions. I'm going to paste them in here. It looks like I grabbed all of them in one go. I'm just going to show you that here. There we go. And so we have the portal. I'm trying to get the ability to edit here. So we have the portal link, the username, and the one-time password. But right now, this user shouldn't really be able to do much of anything. But let's go take a look and see what will happen. So I'm going to close this, and I'm going to go to that portal URL that's here. I'm just going to copy it in my browser. And I think I'll have to open this up incognito because, you know, I can't be logged into both at the same time. And so we should get some kind of start screen here, and we'll place in the username. Okay, we'll hit next, and then we'll put in our password. We'll say sign in. And so now it's asking me to put a new password in. I really don't want to change the password, but I'm going to. So I'm just off screen, I'm making a new password, okay? So I'm just writing some jargon here to make it pass. And hopefully it will like my new password. We'll set that password. It matches. Non-alphanumeric character. Oh, always up with that, eh? Okay, putting some @ signs, underscores in there. We'll try this again. And we'll paste this here. And we'll paste this here. And we'll say set new password. And it says we don't have any applications, which makes sense because we haven't added anything. There's nothing for us to gain access to. But something I want to just make clear about this SSO stuff is the idea is that we can actually grant it permissions to other applications. So if we go here, I don't know if there's really anything I really want to add, but let's go take a look here. I want to select one of the catalogs, so we go ahead and do that. And so the idea is that if you were using something else like Adobe or Credible or anything, let's just go through here and see if there's something that looks a little bit more interesting. It just doesn't always have the best integrations. Azure's a lot better at it. So like Dashlane is something that I use. So let's say you wanted to be able to log into your Dashlane using your AWS account, because maybe you made a Dashlane account that gets you access to all your other passwords. You could do that. Datadog's not a bad idea. Okay. But you know, oh, GitHub. So we got GitHub here. So I mean, that could be a good one to do. We could go ahead and hit next. So this is something that might be interesting to try. Let me just see how difficult this is. I'm just going to go ahead and look at the instructions here because I've never done it. All right, so here it says access to IAM Center. That's what we have. A GitHub account with permissions to configure SAML. So this might not work unless it's enterprise. Can we do this? I did the GitHub course, so you think I'd know, but GitHub personal accounts, GitHub SAML. I think this is only for enterprises, to be honest. So I don't think we're going to be able to use this. Using GitHub Enterprise. Yeah, so the only way we could actually integrate with that is to have enterprise accounts. And that's the challenge with a lot of these things is that if we're going to want to add an application for us to log in, it's almost always like enterprise account. Not necessarily everything, but I think we're just going to have a really hard time here. So I think that we can't really demonstrate this unless I want to go ahead and create an enterprise account, but I don't want to do that today. So that's not going to be very useful. But we could give it access to other AWS accounts. So I've clicked on the AWS accounts here, and I'm not sure why it brought me back to the dashboard. And so I want to grant this access to very specific accounts. You can see I have a bunch of stuff in here. But let's imagine I want to go into the development account, which is the other account. And yeah, that seems fine here. So that's the account that I'm usually working in. So we'll go ahead and assign users and groups. And I'm going to assign anyone the admin to be able to access the developers. And now we have a permission set. So permission sets are basically permissions, right? And so we have predefined permission set lists. So these look pretty straightforward. You've seen these before. So we'll add admin access because this person is an admin. We'll go ahead and hit next, create. Okay. And I think that is now associated. Maybe not. We'll refresh this here. We'll hit next, submit. And notice it's configuring your AWS account. So I think what it's doing is it's probably creating like an IAM policy or something in the other one so that it can assume the role. So let's just wait until this finishes, okay? All right, it finished and it just redirected me over here. So now I would imagine that we should be able to single sign on into that account. So let's bring this up here. And we'll do a refresh here. And so now we have the AWS account. It's not the best named, but let's go into it. There we go. Now we can see it. And then we can say management console or command line access. I'm curious what this would do. Oh, okay. Credentials, right? Straightforward. Okay. So that's nice. And we go over here to management console and it just auto logs us in. And so that could be a much more convenient way to get into your accounts. Now I'm curious about the actual policy. So I'm going to go ahead and type in IAM here. And I'm going to make it to the left-hand side. And I'm just curious what that policy is called. So let's just type in like single sign-on, identity. It must have created something. Let's look at customer managed. Okay, so I can't exactly find any policy or role being attached, but I know the way it's working is that it's basically assuming a role, and that's how it's able to do that. Because if you look up here, you can see we have a federated user, right? But anyway, that's pretty straightforward. I mean, if we wanted to make this a bit more advanced, what we could do is use Azure's Microsoft Entra ID, which is Active AD, in order to connect there, because we don't necessarily have to have AWS to be the thing that actually connects us. We could actually have it so that when we log into our Microsoft account one time, then we're in our AWS account instantly, and that's really nice. But I think for this, we'll just keep it simple, and so I'll just sign out because we've basically accomplished what we wanted to do here. And I'm going to go ahead and just tear some of these things down. So we'll go into our permission set, and we'll go ahead and delete this here. And the provision is currently provisioned for one account. Remove it from that account, and then try again. So let's first, I guess, go ahead and remove the account. Or we'll just go ahead and delete the group. See if this is any easy here. Like the permission set I don't really care about too much. We can just leave that alone. Yep, that's fine. We'll delete it. And there we go. And there's obviously options here to set stuff up. Obviously, you probably want to enable MFA, especially if you're going to give people access to multiple things in one go. You absolutely should be assigning MFA. And the other thing that we're not going to get into, but what we could do is we could actually change the identity source. So if we go here, change identity source, we could go to external identity provider. I'm not going to fully do this, but we'd end up having to download this metadata. And then once we have our metadata downloaded, we could make our way over to Azure, Azure login. I don't know why I can't remember it. I don't do Azure for like a couple days, and I can't remember the link to the login portal anymore. It's portal.azure.com. Portal.azure.com. There we go. But my point is that, like, let's say you wanted to, in theory, connect it. If you went over to Microsoft Entra ID and you went over to enterprise applications, because basically just as AWS would be adding applications, you'd basically be adding application to Microsoft here. If you go here and you were to type in AWS, hit enter, you'd have one here for single sign-on. So over here, you got to be careful which one you select. And you'd have to create that app. And the idea is that you'd end up uploading that metadata into that, and then you'd have a file that you'd have to download and bring it back into here. And then you'd have to do some provisioning. But again, that's out of scope for this, for what we're doing here. But we'll call this done, okay? So we'll see you in the next one. And just log out of your root account. And yeah, ciao.